A year ago, if you'd told me my fiancée was already married to someone else, I would have laughed and asked what you were smoking. But here we are. I'm Ethan, 30 years old, software engineer based in Denver, and yeah, my love life has officially made it into you won't believe this Reddit post territory. But trust me, even I didn't see this crap coming. Let me rewind a bit. Lucia and I met 5 years ago at a startup party. She was this brilliant, artsy Colombian-American designer with the kind of smile that made you forget what you were saying mid-sentence. We started talking over cocktails and ended up on the rooftop until 3 a.m., just laughing about bad Tinder dates and office politics. 1 month later, we were practically inseparable. I was living with my old roommate Josh back then, another dev guy I'd known since college. Chill dude, quiet. Bit awkward in social situations, but solid. He and Lucia hit it off too. Nothing weird, or so I thought. Things moved fast. Within the year, Lucia moved in with me and Josh. Rent in Denver is murder, so it made sense. She and Josh were both night owls, always watching stuff like Black Mirror while I passed out from work stress. She said she liked his weird sense of humor. I thought it was harmless. Dumb me. Looking back, there were signs. She'd always come home smelling like his cologne. Oh, I borrowed his hoodie. Josh would casually mention they'd gone grocery shopping without me. It was last minute. Man, they had inside jokes I didn't get inside. I didn't want to be that paranoid guy, so I told myself they were just friends. She's with me, not him. That's what I kept telling myself. Fast forward 3 years, Josh moved out, got a new gig, supposedly across the city. Lucia and I finally had our space. I proposed to her in a super cheesy way, post-it notes on the bathroom mirror, each with a reason I loved her. She cried, said yes. We started planning our wedding for next summer. Life felt solid, calm. Like all the mess of my 20s was behind me. Until last week. Last week, everything blew up. It started small. I posted a photo on Instagram, just a goofy engagement shot of me and Lucia at a brewery, holding up the ring with messy IPA foam mustaches. Caption said, she said yes. Lucky me. I didn't think much of it. I barely use social media. 2 days later, I got a DM from some random account with 0 followers. No profile pic. You should ask Lucia about her husband. At first, I laughed. Thought it was spam. Then came the second message. You think she's single, bro? Check her marriage license. She's been married since 2019. What the actual hell? I stared at the screen, feeling my stomach twist. My hands got cold. I clicked on the profile. It was empty. No bio, no posts, gone within an hour. Deleted. I didn't want to believe it. This couldn't be real. Some troll trying to mess with me. But something made me dig. That night, after Lucia fell asleep, I opened her drawer, the one with the passports, old IDs, paperwork. I don't even know what I was looking for. And that's when I saw it. A green card, issued in 2020, category spouse of U.S. citizen. The name next to hers, Joshua R. Thomas, my ex-roommate. I almost threw up this morning. Confrontation. I didn't sleep at all. Just kept replaying every stupid moment I ignored. Every time she said she was going to Trader Joe's with Josh. Every time she said Josh was like a brother. Bullshit. By morning, I wasn't even mad, I was shaking. Lucia walked into the kitchen wearing his old hoodie. I looked at her, and the words just came out. When were you going to tell me you married Josh? She froze, straight up dropped her coffee mug. Didn't say a word at first, just blinked. Her face went pale. Ethan, Don't even. I saw your green card. You lied to me for 5 years. 5 freaking years. She started crying. Of course. Tried to spin some BS about how it was just paperwork and how Josh needed to help her stay and how they never did anything. I laughed. Actually laughed. You married my roommate, behind my back, and then lived with me, slept with me, Planned a whole wedding with me while legally married to him. She swore it wasn't romantic. It was just immigration. Josh did it as a favor. We had to keep it secret because of the process. Oh, okay, so I'm just the side character in your USCIS fanfiction. I couldn't even yell. I just stared at her and said the most honest thing I've ever said. You don't love me. You love what I give you. Then I packed a bag and walked out. I didn't go to work that day. I couldn't. I drove around the city for hours with no real direction, just trying to make sense of what the hell just happened. Parked outside a random gas station and stared at my steering wheel like it was going to explain something. Nothing did. My brain felt like a smashed window, jagged pieces everywhere. I ended up crashing at my sister's place. Mandy. She took one look at me and didn't ask questions. Just handed me a blanket and a beer and said, "You want to talk, or you want to sit here and watch dumb crime shows until your brain starts working again?" I chose the second option. For that night, anyway. But the next morning, I told her everything. From the Instagram DM to the green card, to Lucia's face when I said Josh's name, to the part where I just walked out and didn't look back. Her eyes got wider with every sentence. And then she said it. Wait, you're telling me she's still married to Josh, like, legally? Yep, Mr. Roommate / he's just a friend is actually Mr. Husband. Surprise. Mandy let out this low whistle, like she was impressed but also deeply pissed on my behalf. You know that's illegal, right? That's full-on immigration fraud if they never dissolved it. That snapped something into place in my head. I hadn't even thought about the legal side yet. I was too buried in the emotional bomb crater. But she was right. I pulled up Lucia's green card photo again. The issue date. The category. Her last name was still listed as Thomas. Josh's last name. I felt sick again. But it wasn't confusion this time. It was clarity. Cold, sharp, ugly clarity. I needed answers and closure. Preferably both. So I called a lawyer. That same week, I met with a family and immigration attorney. I laid everything out, word vomit style, half ranting while he scribbled notes and tried not to look too horrified. He asked for any documentation I had, and I showed him the green card, the messages, even a couple emails I'd found where Lucia was communicating with Josh under the subject line utilities, but the content was vague. Like, we have to make sure this is still stable for another year, and I need you to confirm we're not getting flagged. Super subtle. The lawyer, David, leaned back and exhaled hard. Ethan, if what you're saying is true, this could be a violation of federal law. It's not just betrayal, it's potentially immigration fraud, identity concealment, and conspiracy. At minimum. I didn't even flinch. Honestly, that was the first time all week I'd felt something close to power. He said we could send a formal cease and desist to both Lucia and Josh. Start there, and if necessary, report the situation to the proper channels. If they've lied under oath or submitted false documentation, this doesn't end in a slap on the wrist. Good. I wasn't out for blood, but I sure as hell wasn't going to let them rewrite this whole thing like it was just a messy breakup. About a week later, I posted something online. It wasn't anything big or dramatic, just a note on Facebook that said, "Sometimes the person you trust most turns out to be the one who used you the longest." I canceled my wedding this week, thanks to everyone who's been real. The rest of you, I see you too. The post blew up. A bunch of old friends, co-workers, even Lucia's cousin messaged me like, WTF happened. And that's when shit started unraveling. Turns out, I wasn't the only one who got played. One of Lucia's co-workers sent me a screenshot from an old Slack message. Apparently she used to joke about being married for papers, but engaged for love, like it was some cute punchline. Another guy, Mike, who dated her before me, messaged saying, "Dude, she asked me to pretend to be her fiancée once so her husband wouldn't get suspicious." What the hell? So let's just recap. She married my roommate for a green card, then moved in with me while pretending they were barely friends, then used our relationship to look legit to USCIS, then planned a wedding with me, while still being married to the first guy. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a asterisk-asterisk-asterisk-ing scam. I didn't talk to Lucia again. I blocked her everywhere, but she tried. Fake numbers. Voicemails from mutual friends. One message that said, "Please don't ruin this for me. You don't understand what I was up against." Screw that. I did understand. She just didn't like that I wasn't going to be quiet about it. Josh, though he had the balls to email me, said he never meant for it to go this far, that he was just trying to help her stay, that they were never together, not really, not romantically, just partners in survival. He ended it with this gem. "I hope you can find it in yourself to forgive us. We didn't do this to hurt you." I didn't reply. I forwarded the email to my lawyer instead. Meanwhile, David filed a request for documentation clarification with USCIS. Basically, a formal inquiry about her status and any violations tied to her application. He also started the paperwork for an identity fraud investigation since Lucia had used my address, phone number, and even listed me as an emergency contact in documents that supported her case. How romantic. The whole thing started feeling less like a breakup and more like an FBI episode, which honestly helped me stay sane. It turned my heartbreak into a mission. Every receipt, every email, every memory, I archived it. Not for revenge, for truth. Okay, maybe a little revenge too. And then came the kicker. My wedding venue called, said they got a call from Lucia trying to reclaim the date. She told us the groom canceled last minute, and she was trying to salvage the event. She wanted to still throw a party under a different name, probably to make it look like nothing happened, that it was her choice. I lost it. Told the manager everything, sent over a redacted legal notice. They canceled her, permanently. But I didn't stop there. I called a few of our mutual friends who were still somehow neutral, the ones who hadn't said a word since the engagement ended. I sent them the documents, the emails, the photos. I let them choose what side of this mess they wanted to be on. Most stayed quiet, but a couple, the ones I least expected, responded with something like, "Man, I had no idea. That's so asterisk, 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 Ed. I'm sorry, I should have checked in." One even said, "Honestly, I always thought she was too smooth about everything. Guess I was right. Small win, but it felt good." I spent the next few weeks rebuilding, quietly. Took time off work, deleted every trace of her from my life photos, playlists, travel plans, shared accounts. Replaced the wedding with a solo trip to Oregon, hiked, ate donuts the size of my face, sat on a beach at sunrise and just exhaled. I wasn't healed yet, but I was getting there. And the biggest shift, I didn't feel ashamed anymore. Because for a while, I did. Like I was the idiot who let this happen. Like I should have seen it coming. But nah. They were the ones lying. They were the ones performing. I was just the guy who believed in something real. So now I don't miss her. I miss the version of myself who thought she was someone worth fighting for. But even that's fading. Because that guy, the one who trusted too easily, he's still here. He's just smarter now. Colder, maybe, but not broken. And definitely not done. 2 weeks after Oregon, I got the call. It was David, my lawyer. His voice was calm, too calm, which immediately put me on edge. "Hey, Ethan, you got a minute? This one's, interesting." That's lawyer speak for prepare to be pissed. He told me USCIS had responded to the inquiry we submitted. Long story short, Lucia and Josh were flagged. Apparently, her case had already been under administrative review for a while. They'd received anonymous complaints before nothing verified. But now, with our documentation dates, address overlaps, the marriage still being active while she was engaged to me, the emergency contact info, the emails. That tipped it. USCIS initiated a deeper investigation. Josh, being the genius he is, had filled out his own income verification using my address last year, and Lucia. She submitted a statement to immigration last year, claiming she was still living with her husband to support their ongoing marriage. Meanwhile, she was living in my apartment, sleeping in my bed, wearing an engagement ring I'd saved 3 months' salary for. The worst part, she listed me as her cousin on one of the supporting documents. Let that sink in. Cousin. She downgraded me from fiancé to family to make her story work. I didn't even know what emotion to feel first. Betrayal, rage pure, exhausted disbelief. So, what happens now, I asked. David paused. If they find fraud, she could lose her status. He could face fines, even jail time, depending on intent. But that's a long process. We're not there yet, but I'll tell you this, they're taking it seriously. And then he said something that chilled me. They've also reached out to her. She knows. I don't know what I expected next. Maybe silence. Maybe a meltdown. What I got. A handwritten letter. Yep, like it was 1999 and we were in some slow-burn breakup movie. It came in the mail. No return address. Folded 3 times in a soft blue envelope. The same kind we picked for our wedding invites. I knew it was her before I opened it. Her handwriting was this loopy, almost too perfect script, like someone who always wanted to seem composed, even when their life was on fire. The letter said, Ethan, I know I don't deserve to be heard right now, but I hope you'll read this anyway. I never wanted to hurt you. I know that doesn't make it better. What I did, what Josh and I did, it started out of desperation, but it continued out of cowardice. I should have told you the truth so many times. I lied to keep you. I lied to protect myself. But mostly, I lied because I didn't know how to live without the version of life we were building together. If I could go back, I would have done it all differently. I'm sorry for everything. Please don't destroy me. I read it twice. Then I set it on fire in a cereal bowl on Mandy's balcony and watched it turn into ash. But of course, Lucia didn't stop there. She started messaging my sister, saying she wanted to make things right, that she was afraid of being deported, that she needed me to just back off a little. Mandy, bless her ruthless heart, responded with, My brother almost married a con artist. You're lucky we're not calling Dateline. I love her. But the pressure didn't let up. A few days later, Josh showed up at my work. Like physically in person. I came back from a lunch run, and there he was, leaning against the side of the building, like some bootleg John Cusack. No boombox. Just nerves. He looked bad, like he hadn't slept in days. Thinner, darker circles under his eyes. And definitely not wearing that smug grin I remembered from our old roommate days. Ethan, man, can we talk? No, we really can't. Just 5 minutes. I need you to understand something. Josh, you understand I could have you both arrested, right? There's nothing you can say that's gonna fix this. We didn't mean for it to go this far. She was supposed to divorce me right after her green card went through. We kept up the paperwork, sure, but we weren't, together. So you were just lying to the federal government together. Cool. You guys doing matching orange jumpsuits too? He looked away, rubbed the back of his neck. She loves you, man. I laughed in his face. She loves using people. That's not the same thing. I walked off, didn't even wait for his response. By the time I got back to my desk, security had already flagged him and banned him from the building. Progress. That weekend, I had a long talk with David. We agreed to file a personal damages claim. Nothing insane, just enough to make it clear I wasn't playing anymore. Emotional distress, misrepresentation, fraud. But more importantly, we finalized my formal statement for USCIS. It included the timeline of our relationship, evidence of cohabitation, her use of my info in immigration documents, the engagement, the cancellation, the lies. David said my affidavit might be used in future proceedings if her case escalates. He made sure I was comfortable with that. I told him yes. Not because I wanted to ruin her life, but because she tried to ruin mine and still expected me to stay silent. A few nights later, I got a text from a random number. "You win. I hope you're proud of yourself." I didn't respond. I just blocked it. Then I poured myself a drink, sat on my balcony, and let myself feel everything I'd been avoiding. The loss, the embarrassment, the weird guilt I couldn't shake. The tiny part of me that still remembered the version of Lucia I thought I loved. I missed her. Not the real her, the fake, manufactured version she let me believe in. And I hated that, but I also knew it was part of the process. That sometimes healing looks like sitting in the quiet, letting it all hit, and choosing not to break. I didn't post anything after that. Didn't need to. I knew who I was again. And more importantly, I knew what I wasn't willing to accept anymore. It had been almost 2 months since I walked out of that apartment. Since I stopped being someone's future husband and started being the guy who accidentally uncovered immigration fraud in his own relationship, life had gone quiet. Not peaceful, exactly just quieter, like that silence after an explosion, when your ears are still ringing and you're trying to figure out what parts of you are still intact. Work was steady. Therapy was helping. I was drinking less, sleeping more. Mandy kept checking in, making sure I didn't fall into a hole, and I appreciated that a lot. But I was still angry, still waking up some mornings with this raw, scorched feeling in my chest, like something huge had been stolen from me, and no one could give it back. Then, one morning, I got a call from David again. "You should come by. We got a packet." I knew what that meant. I showed up at his office that afternoon, and he handed me a sealed envelope with the Department of Homeland Security logo stamped right on the front. Inside, a copy of the official inquiry proceedings. Lucia's permanent residency had been formally flagged. Flagged. It didn't mean immediate deportation, but it meant she was under serious review, that she'd be called in for interviews, possibly under oath, that every form she submitted, every address she claimed, every connection she listed, it was all on the table now. And best of all, my affidavit had been accepted as evidence. They were using my testimony. I don't think I smiled that wide in months. A few days later, Mandy and I were out grabbing burgers when she asked, "If you could say one thing to her right now, just one thing, what would it be?" I didn't even have to think. I hoped the green card was worth it. She stared at me, blinked, and then said, "Damn, that's cold." Yeah, well, so was faking a whole F*******ing life with me for paperwork. We didn't talk more about it after that, but I could tell she was proud of me. She kept giving me those side eyes people give when they're silently impressed and trying not to make it weird. I was starting to feel, not better, but clearer, more solid, like the part of me that got crushed had rebuilt with something tougher under the surface. One weekend, I decided to finally clean out the last Lucia-related drawer in my apartment. The one with the photos, the letters, the ring receipts. I'd been putting it off, telling myself I'd get to it later. But that Sunday, something snapped and I just wanted it gone. As I was sorting through the box, I found this old handwritten list she'd made when we first moved in together. Things I want in our future apartment. It had stuff like lots of natural light, 2 plants each, an espresso machine, a hallway photo wall, a record player, but only if it's vintage. It hit me in this weird, sideways way, because none of those things had anything to do with me. It was her fantasy, her vision. I just happened to be the guy standing in the right spot when she decided to start building it. I looked around my apartment. No plants, no photo wall, no record player. Just space and peace, and that felt good. That same week, David forwarded me an update from the investigator working on the immigration case. Apparently, Lucia had finally been scheduled for an in-person interview. Here's the wild part Josh didn't show. They had to reschedule the whole thing. Josh ghosted her. I wish I could say I was shocked, but really, it made sense. They were partners in the lie, but that doesn't mean he wanted to go down with her. And the second things got real, he bailed. David laughed when he told me. Honestly, if this ends in a revoked green card, it's not going to be because of your testimony. It's going to be because her own husband flaked. Good. Let them turn on each other. They built this house of cards together. Let it collapse right on their heads. Around that time, something unexpected happened. I matched with someone on a dating app. Yeah, I know. I wasn't looking. I was still in recovery mode. But I figured, F*** it, I could use a distraction. Her name was Erin. She had a giant dog, swore by sourdough bread, and worked as a public defender. We met for coffee, then drinks, then tacos. By the third date, I told her the entire story, not the watered-down version, the full, uncensored, emotionally ugly version. I figured it was better to lay it all out than pretend I didn't come with baggage the size of a shipping container. She listened the whole way through, eyebrows climbing, eyes sharp. And when I was done, she didn't flinch. Damn, that's one hell of a background check. Still want dessert. She did. We split a brownie sundae. It was slow with Erin, purposefully. I didn't jump into anything. She was patient, funny, grounded. She never once made me feel like I had to perform or prove anything. It was just easy. And weirdly, talking to her made me realize how hard things had been with Lucia for so long. I used to think that tension was just normal, that walking on eggshells was just part of being in love. That was all I'd known. Turns out love's not supposed to feel like a lie detector test. One night, I got an email from someone I hadn't heard from in years. Josh's ex-girlfriend, Sarah. She wrote, "Hey Ethan, I know we never really talked much back when you guys were all living together, but I've been reading between the lines lately, and I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything you went through. I saw what Lucia did to Josh. She played him too. Maybe differently, but still, you didn't deserve that. None of us did." It felt weirdly validating. I wasn't the only one. Lucia had a pattern. She picked people who were kind, trusting, maybe a little too patient, and she squeezed them for everything they had. Josh was an idiot. Yeah, but he was also a pawn. I can see that now. Doesn't mean I forgive him, but I don't waste my energy hating him either. By early fall, the investigation was still ongoing, but quiet. David said we'd probably hear final results within a few months. Maybe more. I wasn't holding my breath. I'd done my part, told my truth, sent the evidence. If karma needed time to cook, I was happy to wait for the main course. In the meantime, I was actually living, sleeping through the night, laughing without that sharp edge of bitterness in my chest, making playlists that weren't anchored to memories, trying new things. I even joined a boxing gym. There's something therapeutic about hitting something that deserves it, even if it's just a bag. Every punch felt like a piece of the past leaving my body. A few days before Thanksgiving, Erin came over with a pie she baked from scratch and a 6-pack of beer. We sat on my couch, watching dumb movies. And halfway through the second one, she looked over and said, "You know, for a guy who's been through hell, you're surprisingly grounded." "Is that your way of saying I'm hot and emotionally stable?" She laughed. Exactly. And right there, with the TV flickering and the smell of cinnamon in the air, I realized something. Lucia had taken a lot from me. Time, trust, hope. But she didn't take everything. She didn't take this. And that felt like winning. Thanksgiving came and went without a single disaster. No surprise texts, no shady visitors, no passive-aggressive letters in pastel envelopes. Just me, Mandy, her husband, Erin, and a roast turkey that may or may not have been slightly undercooked. I blame the oven. Mandy blames me. It's fine. It felt good, quiet, like a regular holiday. Which, for once, it was all I wanted. And then, because of course, right when things started to settle, the envelope came. Big, beige, government-issued, from USCIS. David texted. You'll want to read this with a drink in hand. Call me when you're done. I sat on the couch with a whiskey neat and opened it with the kind of dread you feel reading spoilers for a movie you starred in. Inside, a final decision. They denied Lucia's petition for permanent residency. Denied. The report was cold, bureaucratic, just facts, evidence of ongoing misrepresentation. Inconsistent address history, conflicting affidavits. Failure to appear jointly at interviews. Third-party testimony mine, indicating intent to defraud. There it was. In black and white, adjustment of status application denied. Petitioner subject to removal proceedings pending further review. I had to read it twice. Not because I didn't believe it, but because my brain literally didn't know what to do with justice actually happening. After months of waiting, wondering, bracing for some loophole or last-minute excuse, this was it. They called it what it was, a con, and for once, the system didn't let it slide. I didn't call David right away. I sat there for a while, letting it land. Aaron showed up an hour later with takeout, saw the envelope, and immediately clocked my face. That look says either you got drafted or someone finally got what they deserved. I handed her the letter. She read it once, then smiled. Holy asterisk T, it actually happened? Yeah, they're moving forward with deportation review. So what now? She just leaves, not sure. Probably lawyers up, tries to delay it. But it's not my circus anymore. And I wasn't her cover, her cushion, her get-out-of-consequences free card. I was just the guy who told the truth. And that was enough. Later that week, Mandy and I were walking through a Christmas market downtown when she stopped at a stall selling wooden signs with cliché quotes burned into them. She held one up that said, "What you allow is what will continue. You should hang this above your door," she said. I laughed. What? So every date knows I've got boundaries now? Exactly. Frame it in fire. She's got a flair for the dramatic. I love that about her. Lucia didn't message me. She didn't try to explain, or beg, or spin one more thread of the tangled web she'd built. And I think that was the most telling thing, because she knew the version of me she counted on the quiet. Forgiving, avoid the conflict guy, he was gone. That Ethan. He died the day she tried to turn my life into her backup plan. The new me. I had nothing left for her. A week before Christmas, I ran into Josh. Totally random. Grocery store, middle of the frozen section like a bad sitcom. He looked different, older somehow, like life had stopped going his way and he didn't know how to reset it. We locked eyes. He gave this awkward half-nod, like he wasn't sure whether I'd punch him or walk away. I just said, "Don't worry, you're not worth jail time," and walked off. Did I want to swing on him? Sure. Did I need to know? He was already living in his own personal fallout zone. That was enough. By New Year's, Aaron and I had quietly become a thing. Nothing flashy, no Facebook status updates or grand declarations. Just consistent, grounded, drama-free connection. She'd bring over pasta and wine. I'd make playlists. We'd fall asleep watching dumb documentaries. And it felt so different from what I thought love was supposed to be. No eggshells, no weird tension, no second-guessing my place in her life. Just presence. She didn't ask me to forget the past. She didn't rush me. She didn't treat me like damaged goods or some rescue project. She just stayed. And in doing that, she showed me what actual care looks like. One night, sometime mid-January, I got a letter from USCIS. Just a formality. It confirmed Lucia's voluntary departure was being processed. She'd agreed to leave the country instead of fighting deportation in court. I didn't feel joy reading it. Didn't gloat, Didn't pour a victory drink. It felt more like a book finally closing. I'd spent so much energy surviving the story, I hadn't realized how ready I was to end it. No encore, no plot twist. Just the end. By spring, Aaron and I took a trip to Seattle. A quiet long weekend. We walked Pike Place, ate too many oysters, got caught in the rain. And on the last night, over a stupidly expensive dinner, she said, "You ever think about writing all this down?" What, like a blog? No, like a story, a confession, something honest. Who would even want to read that? Anyone who's been lied to, used, left picking up the pieces? She sipped her wine, leaned back. You don't have to be famous to help people feel seen. It stuck with me. So yeah, that's what this is. Not revenge porn, not some triumphant I won speech. Just one guy's account of getting lied to, standing back up, and learning how not to confuse comfort for love again. Because here's the thing, sometimes the person you think is your safe place, they're just squatting in your life, waiting to collect. And if you let them, they'll take everything and leave you wondering how it happened. But if you fight, if you really fight, there's a version of you waiting on the other side that you've never met. Stronger, sharper, untouchable. That's who I am now.